recall the story of the statue of gold, how you must bow down before it. All the world was told. Our friends escaped the fire for those who disagree. But if you think that king was sick, watch episode 3.
Timber!
Oh, not this again. That's right, Nebuchadnezzar's had another bad dream, and it wasn't too much cheese before bedtime. He's just seen into the future. God gave Nebuchadnezzar another vision of what would happen in his life, and he was terrified. Rightly so, as it turns out. Look, let's just fast forward, because we can all guess what happened next. That's right, he sends for the magicians. Why does he keep turning to that bunch? And as usual, they don't have a clue about what the dream means. Eventually, they wheel out Daniel, and things start to make a bit more sense.
Oh, Daniel, I'm so glad you're here. At last there's someone who'll be able to help me fathom out what my dream means.
Just lie down, you man. Relax and tell me all about it.
Well, it all started. I had this dream, and there was this tree.
The dream was about a great tree that flourished and provided food and shelter for many animals. Then, on God's command, it was cut down, and all its goodness scattered to the wind. The stump of the tree was bound with iron and bronze, and left in the ground for 7 years.
Oh, Daniel, please help me. No one else has been able to explain the meaning of this dream, but because you have the spirits of all the holy gods in you, I know that you can.
This statement is theologically most unsound, but Daniel was so struck by the meaning of the dream, he appears not to have noticed. In fact, he sat dumbfounded for a whole hour.
Daniel? Daniel! Daniel, wakey, wakey! Is the meaning so awful you can't tell me what it is? Quick, spit it out, man, and put me out of my misery.
If only the dream that you had was about some enemy of yours. But, sir, I fear that that tree that you saw while you slept is you.
Oh, no.
God says that your power will be cut down. You'll be chased from your palace and live like a wild animal for 7 years. You'll only come to your senses when you recognize that God is more powerful than you are. It's he who decides who rules in this world.
This is terrible. I wish I'd never asked.
It's not all bad news. In your dream, the stump of the tree was left in the ground, and that means after 7 years, your kingdom will be restored.
Is there nothing I can do?
Your Majesty, you must start doing what you know is right now. Help the poor people in your kingdom. Stamp out corruption. Be fair yourself. Then perhaps God won't have to put you through all this. It may not be too late.
But of course, in one way, it was too late. The king wasn't really interested in changing. And so, a year later, Nebuchadnezzar could be found strolling in his roof garden after dinner, congratulating himself on all his achievement.
Oh, Babylon! You are beautiful. I conceived you, I built you, and I run you. You're all mine.
That's what you think, Nebuchadnezzar. Today this city has been taken from you.
And within the hour, Nebuchadnezzar was driven from his palace. He lived out in the fields like a wild animal, eating grass. His hair was matted, and his nails became like claws.
But at the end of 7 years, Nebuchadnezzar finally looked up towards heaven and said,
Okay, you're God!
At that very moment, his sanity returned. He became king again, and after this slight hiccup in his career, he went on to win even more glory than before. But things were different. Deep down, Nebuchadnezzar now knew who was really boss.
A voice came from heaven just as Daniel had said, and that voice made me wonder whether I'd be better dead, for the God of all the universe had bones to pick with me. I'd never come before him or acknowledged his glory. It was God who made me king. See, he'd been right there from the start. For though I'd often bowed my knee, I'd never bowed my heart. I was driven from my palace, I was chased out from my home. I had to rough it in the forest with the animals that roam. But I came back to my senses after 7 years had passed, and only then my stubborn heart acknowledged God at last. Let me tell you of my maker, let me sing out to my king, for his kingdom lasts forever, he's the boss of everything. You cannot challenge what he does, but all he does is just, for he takes the proud and haughty and he brings them down to dust. He has done it, he has done it, he has done it.
Well, it took some time with Nebuchadnezzar, but he got there in the end. The Bible doesn't tell us exactly when, but at some point Nebuchadnezzar died and his son Belshazzar succeeded him to the throne. Can you picture Nebuchadnezzar in your mind for a moment? Have you got him? Do you recall that certain je ne sais quoi he had about him? That noble head, that distinctive dress sense, those exquisite manners. Well, if you can picture Nebuchadnezzar without the charm, you have Belshazzar. Belshazzar had all the tact and refinement of a donkey. He was cruel, his personal habits were revolting, and he may even have had a little addiction problem. Suffice to say, the Bible mentions drink 5 times in the first 4 verses it talks about Belshazzar.
Whereas Nebuchadnezzar was proud, and for most of his reign paid only lip service to God, Belshazzar was a different kettle of fish altogether. He was a cruel, depraved tyrant, with a brain saturated with booze and self-importance.
Instead of ignoring God, Belshazzar went out of his way to insult him.
One night, Belshazzar decided to throw a party for himself and some of his cronies.
How many were there?
Oh, 1,000 or so.
1,000?
Oh, yes. This was no TV dinner. When Belshazzar entertained, he did it in style. The wine flowed freely. It was the sort of party that would have made the front page of the Babylon News of the world.
But Belshazzar found himself dissatisfied with it all.
You can only have so many people to use, so many whippings to watch, and so much wine to drink. I'm yearning for something more. It must be the spiritual side of my nature that is somehow unappeased. And do you know why? It is because I get the distinct feeling that God has boycotted my party. Everybody else is here. My nobles are here. My politicians are here. My wives, my pimps and prostitutes, they've all come. But God hasn't deigned to show his little kisser.
Ah, forget it, Belshazzar, said a flabby friend. If there is a God, he don't want to be on your guest list. He ain't interested in little squirts like you.
Go choke on your own vomit. If God doesn't want to come to my party, I'll make him come. Now, who can guess which God in particular I'm talking about? He's the most prissy, stuck-up, clean-living God of them all.
I know,
said a weasel-faced nobleman.
it's the God of the Jews.
Right. Let's get him here. We'll introduce him to some of our more fun-loving local gods. It'll be an education for him. Hey, you, slave girl. Come here, my lovely. Bring me those sacred cups from the temple at Jerusalem. My father got them as spoils of war. I fancy having a few beers with the Jewish God.
The whole court went quiet. Sir? Spoke up a sweating nobleman. Don't you think that might be a little bit dangerous? After all, those cups are meant to be ever so holy. Sir? You know, the God of the Jews might not like it if you...
Why do I care what the God of the Jews likes? It'll teach him a lesson. Gods need to be kept in their place. Well, there's nothing very special about this, is there? Nothing very holy. The world doesn't end if I touch it. Fill the cups with wine. Let's bring this God down to earth. We'll show him who's really boss.
Sir Belshazzar, His nobles and their women drank their wine from the cups belonging to the temple of the Jewish god, and nothing seemed to happen. The party got noisier and noisier, so noisy in fact that upstairs the Queen Mother couldn't sleep.
Oh, this is no good. That son of mine is the very limit. It's not that I mind Little Belly having a few of his friends around now and again, but this is getting beyond a joke. Oh, no wonder he finds it so hard to get up in the morning. He's not at all like his father. Oh. Now there was a man, my Nebby. He had a vicious temper, but such charm, so handsome. Oh, still enough of that. The staff will be wanting to get in any time now. They like to swill out the place with disinfectant after my belly has had one of his parties. I don't blame them. Enough is enough. Come on! Finish the party! Enough is enough! Shut up!
Ah! You think you're the one true God, do you, God of the Jews? We'll show you how much of a God we think you are. He is to the God of gold. He is to the God of silver. He is to the God of brass. He is to the God of iron. He is to the God of wood. And finally, he is to the God of stone. That's how much of a God we think you are. A lump of stone's as much a God as you.
A massive human hand had appeared out of thin air and wrote the words, "Mene, Mene, Tekel, Parsin," on the far wall of the banqueting hall.
Fetch me my magicians. Get all my astrologers and diviners and enchanters. The man who tells me what this means can name his price up to a third of my kingdom. Money, clothes, women, power, you can have them all. But I must know the meaning of this writing tonight.
So in they came, this latest generation of court magicians, bringing with them their crystal balls, zodiacs, pendulums, and incense. A certain smell followed these men wherever they went. Instinctively, the courtiers parted to let them through. The magicians looked at the wall. Then they looked at the king. Then they looked at each other. Then they looked at the wall again. And they began.
Majesty, live forever. May your children's children live to praise your name. May your fame spread abroad like hot incense on a desert breeze. May
Cut
the sun...
all this! Which one of you can tell me what this writing means?
Ah, yes, sire. The writings. Well, with time and meditation, with many sacrifices to unclean spirits and a great deal of searching out of omens, one of us may well feel confident enough to hazard an interpretation. But right now, sire, sorry, we haven't got a clue. Meanwhile, upstairs, the Queen Mother was getting worried.
Why is it gone so quiet? Has something happened? It's not like my little belly to just stop a party like that. Oh, what's that smell? Has somebody been burning joss sticks? I bet it's those nasty magicians. My Nebby never did like them.
Suddenly, a slave burst through the door. "Majesty, come quickly," he blurted out. "Your son is hysterical."
The Queen Mum rushed into the banqueting hall and scooped the king up to her ample bosom. "Oh, my little belly, tell me all about it." And when she had been told all about it, this is what she said. "Your daddy used to have a man called Donald? Dennis? Daniel! That's it! Daniel!"
Daniel. You almost thought we'd forgotten about him, didn't you?
Daniel was like one of the gods themselves. He could make sense of almost anything. In our day, he was the chief wise man in the whole kingdom. I'm sure he could help you. Why don't you call him?
Get him!
And so once more, Daniel came into the palace of the king.
It had been many years since Daniel had been into this throne room. He looked around him sadly. It wasn't like this in your father's day, he thought, as he picked his way through the flaccid bodies and approached the king.
Daniel, if you can tell me the meaning of this writing on the wall, I'll give you all the money and power you ever dreamed of.
You can keep your bribes, your majesty. I'll tell you what you want to know for free. Your father, Nebuchadnezzar, learned the hard way to honor God. You knew all about this, and yet you chose to spit upon the face of the one who made you. That was a big mistake, Belshazzar. God holds your future in his hands. He sat in judgment on you, and I'm here to deliver his verdict. Mene means numbered. God has numbered the days of your reign, and they are ended. Tekel means weighed. God has weighed you up and found you wanting. And Parsin means divided. Your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians as of now.
As of now, the famous city of Babylon has been overrun by troops of the Medo-Persian alliance. We have confirmed reports that King Belshazzar is dead. The new ruler, Darius the Mede, is expected to hold a press conference from the palace early in the morning.